Welcome to Fanfiction Pals, your little nook for comfort and imagination. Here, stories come alive, one cozy chapter at a time. So grab a blanket, relax, and let's continue beyond Madagascar. The Penguin Files, written by Roxy Devine, edited by Dire Wolf Emily, and narrated by 11 Labs. Chapter 2, Meeting Hans, back with Skipper. The jet arrived at 0700 hours the next morning. Skipper boarded as quickly as possible, having already said goodbye to his brothers. Part of him wanted to give one last wave, while the other knew that the sight he would be greeted with would be less than pleasant. He wrestled with the idea as he walked up the ramp. Finally, giving in once he reaches the top, he turns and gives a final salute. Kowalski was the first to return it. Naturally, with Skipper leaving, he would be the one in temporary command. The responsibility weighed heavily on his mind. He couldn't even imagine how he was going to keep the circus afloat while also keeping his brothers in line. Still, he knew that confidence was the key to any successful leader, so he put on a brave face. Private, on the other hand, showed his worry like a badge as he and Rico saluted as well. Rico also looked worried, but still looked to be better off than Private. No doubt having shaken off his fears from the day before, mostly. "Don't forget to call us when you get there," Private shouted fearfully as they dropped the salute. "I will," Skipper assured him. "And remember to consider all your options before you do anything rash," Kowalski added. "I will," Skipper said, more annoyed now. "And if all fails," Kowalski went on. "Kaboom!" Rico interrupted. "Yes, exactly. Wait, no, Rico." Kowalski gave the maniac a slap. That is the opposite of what he should do. Rico laughed knowingly. "Still want to leave them unsupervised?" Classified asked knowingly as he appeared beside him. "They'll be fine," Skipper assured him as the loading ramp closed behind them. Skipper smiled as he heard the faint goodbyes of his team as they made their way to their seats. "Is that a look of sentiment I see on your face there?" Classified asked playfully. "Hilarious," Skipper scoffed as they took their seats. "Here's an idea. How about we focus on the mission?" Classified nodded from his seat, across from Skipper. They both sat around a white table as a hologram image of a puffin appeared before them. "This is Hans the puffin. He will be your informant once you land," Classified explained. "You will meet him at the Old English pub at 0600 hours, their time, not ours." He clarified. "Once there, you will knock on a loose brick on the south side. A secret door will open up to the Danes' underground pub." He continued to explain. "Once inside, you will use these keywords to identify yourself." The words pulled up in front of him. He will say, "It looks like rain." And you will respond with, "Well, it's a good thing I brought an umbrella," Skipper said, finishing the sentence. "One problem. I don't have one." Classified handed him a small black umbrella. "And now you do." Skipper took the umbrella waringly. "Won't carrying this around get in my way?" "If it were an ordinary umbrella, yes, but this one comes with a few accessories you might find useful," Classified explained. "It has a blade, grappling hook, a chamber for sleep gas, a laser that can cut through even the thickest of metals, and finally it can be used as a flotation device." Skipper examined the umbrella in his flipper, trying to get a feel for it. It was easy to maneuver, and fighting with it shouldn't be too difficult. "This Hans," he asked, eyes never leaving the umbrella. "Can he be trusted?" It was a fair question. One Classified knew would be coming. The Danes are known for getting the job done in a timely and orderly manner, he answered. However, it wouldn't be the first time their own interests have gotten in the way. If they see this information as something useful to them, they may try to take it for themselves. "So that's a no?" Skipper concluded. This was exactly why Skipper hated working with other countries. Their loyalty to their own government came before the success of the mission. Not that Skipper could really blame them. Stealing secrets from the enemy, even one that had yet to attack, was something that even he would do, if given the chance. He is just there to pass on information to you, Classified assured him. I advise you to avoid any further contact with him if possible. Skipper nodded, settling down in his seat. It was over a 15-hour flight to Copenhagen, and the jet would have to stop and refuel at the halfway point. Meaning, Skipper had plenty of time to kill before he got there. His brow rose. Say, is there any footage of the bunny stealing the case? He asked. Yes, why? Classified asked. I'm going into this blind, Skipper explained. I was hoping the footage might give us more clues. Classified nodded, pulling up said footage on the hologram. There isn't much. He warned as the footage played. Marshall, the rabbit looks nervous on the screen. His nose twitches excessively as he enters his usual office. Skipper watches as he looks right at the camera before sitting down and begins his work. He prints out several papers, no doubt containing the information that is now stored in the briefcase. The rabbit looks back at the camera several times throughout the process. Finally, upon finishing his work, he pulls out his work briefcase, empties its contents on his desk before shoving the freshly printed paper inside. Once done, he gives the camera one last glance before rushing out of the room. Like I said, it isn't much, Classified said as the feed stopped. Looks like it's plenty to me, Skipper said. What do you mean? Classified asked. The camera, Skipper pointed out. He keeps looking at it. Probably because he knows he's going to be caught that we can see him. Classified argued. Exactly, Skipper agreed. He could have hacked the system, printed the files at home, or perhaps another office without a camera. He wagered. I can see from here exactly what he is printing. You mean he wanted to be seen? Classified asked. Skipper nodded. If that's true, why not just turn himself in? Classified asked. The enemy might have something on him, forcing him to comply. Skipper wagered. Choosing to copy the files in full view of Northwind security was probably the only way he felt he could clue you in on what was going on. But we have no idea. Classified yelled. Not true, Skipper reasoned. We know who, Marshall. He explained. Had he chosen a better way of covering his tracks, like hacking from a secure location, we wouldn't even have that. Classified nodded. Skipper was right. It was because they saw Marshall that they knew information had been stolen. He also used a credit card to board a plane to Copenhagen, posing as a pet rabbit, where he was held with the passenger luggage. This allowed them to track him to where he was now. You might be onto something, he admitted. But what could the enemy have on him? Does he have any family? Skipper asked. Girlfriend even? No, he's a shut-in, and the only child of 2 deceased parents. Classified answers. Got any unhealthy hobbies? Borrowed money from the wrong crowd? Anything? Skipper urged. Not that we are aware of, Classified retorted. But I have Eva digging into his history right now. How long has he been working for Northwind? Skipper asked. 5 years, Classified replied. Well-rounded, obviously loved his work and his job. Had a good relationship with his coworkers, just wasn't very social. So he's a seasoned worker, obviously trusted. Skipper was deep in thought now. No family to miss him if he just suddenly disappears. He nodded. Yep, sounds like we have a third party involved. Classified sighed. I was afraid of that. He pulled up some files. If one of our enemies has forced Marshall into going rogue, then retrieving this information could have a greater purpose. You mean besides knowing who the enemy is? Skipper asked. Classified nodded. If our enemies knew every member who worked for us, they could eliminate us entirely, hunting down every single agent until there is no one left. Yes, that was the worst-case scenario. Unfortunately, it was also the most likely. Our best bet is to get to him first, Skipper concluded. Force him to tell us what's going on. Unfortunately, that gives us little time. No doubt he will be eliminated as soon as he hands over the information. Classified voices. The sudden urge to already be in Copenhagen washed over him. What if they got there to find Marshall already dead? If the briefcase was already in the hands of the enemy, the trail could go cold. Not to mention, an agent would most likely be dead with more to follow. They have to be using something against him, Skipper reasoned, seeing no other way to spend the time. Classified nodded. If there were victims involved, they would need to plan accordingly. As bad as it sounds, Skipper had been hoping that the sorry Two-Face was nothing more than that. A sorry, two-faced jerk who wanted to get even. But if that were the case, he would have chosen a better way to steal the information. Besides, Skipper just couldn't see him as a hardened criminal. His obvious display of nerves showed an agent that was in way over his head. The two agents pored over all the information they had, but after 15 hours of research, neither of them nor Classified's team back at headquarters could make heads or tails of why Marshall went rogue. Skipper forced back a yawn and stretched as their destination came into view as they began their descent. Copenhagen, Denmark. A sense of dread that he couldn't quite place fell over him. Logic told him it was the absence of his team weighing heavy on him. However, his gut told him differently. Something rotten was lurking in the streets below. He just knew it. And if history taught him one thing, it was to listen to his gut. The jet landed on an abandoned airstrip just outside of the city. Unfortunately, you must continue on your own from here, Classified said, handing him an earpiece. This is a two-way communicator. Wear it at all times. Skipper slipped the earpiece in his ear hole, his umbrella in hand. Now, I know I don't have to stress this, but just in case. It's important that the humans, especially the government of Denmark, stay in the dark about this. Skipper nodded. Very few humans actually knew that animals were more than the stupid creatures that they pretended to be. Every creature, from the smallest ant to the largest whale, understood the need for this secrecy. Humans were an unpredictable bunch, and their destructive fear of the unexplained was well known. He set off then. He had a lot of ground to cover, and the clock already showed 05:30 hours. However, navigating the alien streets of Denmark proved to be faster than he first predicted. He realized that this was because of his lack of a team. When the boys were with him, he would have to take a slower pace, waiting for openings that would allow 4 individuals to slip by unnoticed. But when it was just him, there was no need to wait. A part of him enjoyed the quickened pace, while the other felt guilty for enjoying himself at all. He arrived at the Old English pub in record time. Navigating to the south side as instructed, he found the loose brick and tapped it. A secret door opened, showing a staircase leading down. Skipper followed the stairs as the brick door closed behind him. Animal ran underground pubs were common around the world and always had a criminal underbelly. However, just like any other black market, it was an unavoidable part of society. Still, many animals found these places attractive for another reason. That reason being the lack of humans. In places like these, away from the public eye, animals could be themselves without the fear of human persecution. Skipper finished descending the stairs and made his way towards the bar. The number of puffins present was larger than he had expected. How would he know which one was his puffin? He shrugged, deciding to let his informant come to him before picking a table in the back for privacy. "What will it be, stranger?" a hedgehog asked, appearing beside him the second he took a seat. Skipper assumed she was the server of this fine establishment. "Nothing, just waiting on a friend." She nodded and retreated, leaving him alone. He wasn't alone for long. Moments later, a puffin walked in. He surveyed the room and upon seeing Skipper, headed his way. Skipper pretended to be unmoved by this. After all, he had to be sure this was his man before he did anything. "Is this seat taken?" The puffin's English was thick with a Danish accent. He gestured to the seat beside him. "No." Skipper answered simply. The puffin took his seat and the server appeared again. "Just water for me, thanks," he said before she could even ask. She looks to Skipper once more, but he declines. After she left angrily, he thought he heard her mutter, "Freeloader." A moment of silence passes, and then, "I don't think I've ever seen you around before," the puffin said. "Are you here for sightseeing?" "Hunting," Skipper answered with a slight smirk. "Hunting?" The puffin looks worried now. Well, you sure chose the worst weather for it. Really? Skipper asked. Looked fine to me. Afraid so? It looks like rain. The puffin concluded. Skipper smiled. Well, it's a good thing I brought an umbrella, he said, holding it up. The two paused for only a moment before erupting in a fit of silent laughter. I can't believe you said that with a straight face. The puffin cackled. You Americans and your silly code words. Skipper smiled, suddenly feeling at ease. The puffin seemed friendly enough. His original fears melted away. Name's Skipper, he said, only realizing after the word slipped out that he had used his real name. My intel tells me you have word on a certain rabbit's location. Hans nodded. He's taken refuge inside the Prime Minister's home. Why there? Skipper asked. The Prime Minister of Denmark, Anders Fogh Rasmussen, is devoted to his companion, a bunny by the name of Mr. Whiskers, Hans explained. Our guess is the imposter is posing as the Prime Minister's pet because it puts us in a bind. To attack the Prime Minister or his property risks exposure, and if we're found out, it could incite war between humans and animals. Skipper nodded. And the real bunny, Mr. Whiskers? What happened to him? Hans folded his wings. The Prime Minister takes him to the local pet park daily. We believe the switch happened there, but we haven't spotted him and he hasn't returned home. He pulled out a photograph of the Prime Minister holding a rabbit. Then another. This time, a slightly different bunny. To most eyes, they looked nearly identical, but Skipper spotted the difference. One had pale blue eyes, while the others were an icy blue. You would think a pet owner would notice such a difference, even one as insignificant as this. Skipper thought bitterly. He chose to disregard this new example of humanity's shortcomings. Any luck on who may be behind this? Skipper questioned. There have been no signs of any third party trying to approach. Hans answered. I hate to assume the worst, but the chap might just be planning to sell the information when the heat dies down. Skipper nodded. He knew this was a possibility, but no evidence showed Marshall hurting for cash, and he wasn't the greedy type, or at least as far as classified was concerned. He was a model employee who just woke up one day and went rogue. Yes, that's what all the evidence suggested, but Skipper knew there had to be more. You just didn't go bad. Something had to have pushed him over the edge. So, how do we catch him? Skipper asked. You'll never get anywhere near him. Hans concluded. The Prime Minister's home and office have the latest security, with several men guarding every entry point and exit. Skipper frowned, thinking hard. How are they going to get near the target with such top security? He guessed that was the whole reason Marshall chose the Prime Minister as his cover. Still, if there was a third party involved, how did they plan to get the briefcase? Seeing the obvious answer, he asked, What time does the Prime Minister usually visit the park? Noon for about an hour. Hans answered. Skipper looked at the clock and frowned. It wasn't even 0800 hours. What was he going to do in the meantime? Hans smiled. You might as well get something to eat, yeah? He laughed. I'll buy. Skipper returned the smile gratefully. That sounds great. He agreed. Hans waved the server over and they ordered a plate of salmon. Afterwards, Hans dove into a daring tale about a former mission he had recently completed. We were up against these bands of rogue animals, he explained. An extremist interspecies group who wished to end the reign of humankind. Skipper listened as he weaved the tale. Hans sounded like he led an exciting life. And while he and his brothers went up against several forms of evil, this was different. People like Hans, people like the North Wind, saved the world on a global scale. And despite himself, Skipper couldn't help but feel insignificant when compared to the two. Sure, he and his brothers had saved penguin kind from the likes of Dave, but compared to an extremist group bent on world domination, it just seemed less exciting. It was at that moment that Skipper realized just how small his team was against the great big scale of things. Oh, I've said too much. Hans realized his reaction. I am sure your adventures are much more Exciting, no? No, Skipper found himself saying. Not even close. To be continued. We truly appreciate you taking the time to read this story. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to our channel for more stories. Your feedback means a lot and helps support future writing. Thank you again, and we hope to see you in the next chapter. Sincerely, Fanfiction Pals.